This is Ephraim B. Martin. I am 58 years old, and I am a girl dad. I welcome you to another beautiful day in the state of Colorado. It's Sunday morning. It's a really nice day today. Kind of looking around. I'm outdoors, by the way. I do my recordings outdoors. It's just a little bit more convenient for me. I could be in a studio, but I prefer being outdoors and just enjoying the weather in the morning. So that's what I'm doing. Fathers, I hope you had a good week. I hope all is well. I hope you were blessed this week. And this is another live stream. So what we're going to be talking about today, fathers, is my book, Daddy's Girls. I have a chapter in my book called Keeping Our Daughters Off of the Pole. And that's what I want to talk about today. And what I mean by keeping our daughters off of the pole, I'm talking about the strip clubs. I'm talking about the gentleman's club. I'm talking about any club for men where our daughters could end up stripping in front of total strangers. Okay? So that's the pole I'm talking about. And in my book, I talk about it and discuss it. And the reason I have not necessarily a chapter on that, but why I discuss it is because it's pivotal, fathers. We don't want our daughters to end up on the pole under any circumstance. We don't want them to be abused. We don't want them to be hurt. And we just don't want them ever taking off their clothes and dancing in front of strangers, because that is not okay. All right? Now, as a father, I believe it is our 100% responsibility to make sure that our daughters never end up on the pole. We are responsible for raising our baby girls from birth to 18 years of age. And then once they're 18 years of age, yes, they are grown. But if our daughters end up on the pole after they leave our household, that's on us, dads. It's not on their mother. It's 100% on us. Now, I get a lot of pushback from fathers. They say, Ephraim, how can you blame a father once their daughter leaves the home and she ends up on the pole? Well, it's very simple. There are things that we do as fathers throughout our lives when we're raising these baby girls that we have to be 100% aware of, right? Our daughters are not going to gravitate to the pole for any curiosity. They're going to go to the pole to make money, right? And at some point between us rearing them from birth to 18 years of age, they got a message from us, their fathers, that it was okay at some point to end up dancing in front of strangers and taking off their clothes and making money, right? So that is 100% on the fathers. That's on us, okay? I get pushback from dads. I've had dads say, well, Ephraim, what about daughters that are raised in a household of religious or pastors, and they were born and raised in the church and they end up on the pole? Same thing. Okay, so whether our daughters were raised in the church or not, if they end up on the pole, it's the father's responsibility. We have to own that, dads. Okay, just because you were raised in a religious household and were introduced to God and you have a religious and solid foundation, that doesn't mean that you're not subject to the pole. It's very simplistic, Dad. We are 100% responsible for our daughters ending up on the pole. Okay? So let's take a look at this. Now, in my book, I speak about the 3 different stages of development for our daughters. Birth to 10 years of age, 11 to 13 years of age, and 14 to 18 years of age, fathers. So if we have our daughters from birth to 18 years of age and we are in their life, a lot of responsibility comes with that. For instance, birth to 10 years of age. I talk about it in my book, how we have to be very, very nurturing with our daughters, how we have to talk to our daughters about their bodies, how we have to explain a lot of different things to our daughters birth to 10 years of age, because our daughters are watching us. And one of the things that dads and men don't want to take responsibility for is how we treat women. okay? How we treat women, our daughters are watching, fathers. If we're disrespectful to their mothers, if we're disrespectful to other women, if we disrespect other women, our daughters are watching us, okay? When they're little, birth to 10 years of age, they're not going to say anything to us, but they are observing. They are taking it all in, right? That could have an impact on them ending up on the pole. We have to own that, dads. Okay, we can't pass the buck. We have to own it. So it is critical how we deal with our daughters. It's critical how we deal with women. It's critical how we deal with their mothers. Okay, we have to own that. 11 to 13 years old, it's the same situation, fathers. Okay, we have to make sure we are never disrespecting their mothers. I want to make that perfectly clear. Whether we are married to their mothers or we are divorced, we can't disrespect women. We can't disrespect their mothers. We can't ever talk bad about their mothers in front of them. That's not good, dads, because our daughters will make some decisions, and ultimately they will make us pay for the decisions that they make. I want to make that perfectly clear. Okay? A lot of fathers, they don't want to take responsibility for how their daughters end up. A lot of fathers will tell you, I did the best that I could, which I believe a lot of times. We do the best that we can. But with that being said, dads, we have a huge responsibility to ensure that our daughters never end up on the pole. Okay? How are we going to feel if our daughters decide to make this quick money, undressing themselves, dancing in front of total strangers? Would you feel good about that as a father? You have to ask yourself that. I know I wouldn't. I raised 4 adult girls, right? None of them ended up on the pole. And the reason none of them ended up on the pole is because I had to put in work. Dads, we don't get out of this, okay? We are not getting out of this. It is our sole responsibility to ensure that our daughters do not end up on the pole, right? So let's get back to birth to 10 years of age when we're raising our daughters. It's critical that we talk to our daughters about their bodies. It's critical that we let them know what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, right? We have to have these discussions. Okay, fathers, we're not the ones. It's their mothers that introduce them to lingerie and, makeup, those things. Those are things that their mothers are going to do, right? So what we have to make sure we do as their fathers, because their moms are going to do it. There's just no way around it. We have to make sure that our daughters know what's appropriate when it comes to makeup and what's not appropriate when it comes to makeup, because their mothers are going to introduce them to it, right? The lingerie that their mothers are going to introduce them to, and just the different things that their mothers are going to introduce them to, we're not going to have any control over, fathers. We're just not. So all we can do is, as their dads, is we have to speak with our daughters, letting them know that we love them, that we have their backs unconditionally, regardless, and that they can come to us for anything, right? But one of the biggest parts of that, fathers, is ensuring that we do not disrespect women. We cannot. We cannot show that to our daughters, and that cannot be a part of what we do as men. Because our daughters are going to remember that. If they see it, they're going to mimic it. They're going to think it's okay for other men to disrespect them, right? I remember when I was a probation officer, and I had a couple young ladies that had completed probation, and then they end up coming back to me, and we had some really good discussions. Well, a few of them did end up on the pole, right? And I explained to them what happened and what led to them ending up on the pole. And it was their daddy issues that led them to the pole. They would tell me, Mr. Martin, you did what you could do, but us not having our fathers in our lives, we ended up doing a lot of different things. It didn't turn out good, right? So fathers, it's critical. It is very critical. You know, the sex trade that is going on through the United States, you know, our daughters are subject to that, you know, and that's just a lack of fathers being in their daughters' lives. We are so critical, fathers. The poll's waiting for them. I'm telling you, the poll is waiting for our daughters. As soon as they turn 18 years of age, the poll's waiting for them, right? And many of our daughters are going to end up on the poll because of their daddy issues. Okay? Say what you want, fathers. But at the end of the day, we are 100% responsible for whether or not our daughters end up on the poll. We have to own it. We do. It is not easy to accept if our daughters end up on the poll. And I'm very passionate about this because I've seen too many young women that have father issues, right? They got good heads on their shoulders and they've done a lot of right things, but they end up on the pole because of their fathers. You know, and then when you speak to fathers about this, you get pushback. A lot of fathers don't want to take accountability for their daughters and end up on the pole. It's our fault. Bottom line, if our daughters end up on the pole, it's our fault, dads. You know, you can deny it all you want, you can fight it all you want, but I guarantee you, if your daughters end up on the pole and you speak to them and ask them why they ended up on the pole, you'd be very shocked. It's something that we didn't do in rearing them to why they ended up on the pole. It is, right? And the problem with that is once they become adult women, we as their fathers, we no longer want to have those conversations with our adult daughters because they're grown women, right? And we just figure, well, they're grown and they can do, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do. Facts. Those are facts. But we still have to own the fact that's where they ended up. And that's on us, dads. Okay, we can't blame our daughters for being on the pole. We can't do it. And many dads do. Okay? So fathers, we have to position ourselves, right? To always be advocates for our daughters. Right? That's just what it is, dads. And so many fathers, they don't want to own that responsibility. And it's just very, very disappointing. You know, the sex trafficking in the United States, it's a real deal. You know, young girls are being swept up throughout the United States and they're being prostituted and they're being turned out. And those are the facts, dads. And it falls on us. There's absolutely no reason for our daughters, you know, 13, 14, 15, 16, being kicked out of their homes. There's absolutely no reason for that, fathers. I don't accept that. I'm a former state juvenile probation officer, state of Colorado. Worked in the criminal justice system for 20 years. And I'm telling you, if we put our daughters out the house, they're going to get prostituted. They're going to end up on the pole, and they may end up dead. Okay, those are the facts. And so many of our daughters, because of their father issues, because of their daddy issues, this is the direction that they go. And so many dads don't want to own that, and they don't want to take responsibility for that. And that's not fair to our daughters. They end up becoming women. I mean, when they become adult women, they become jacked up in the head because they have so many daddy issues, so many father issues, so many unresolved issues with their fathers. You know, and like I said, we have to own that, dads. That's not on their mothers. Okay? You can blame their mother all you want to, but if your daughter ends up on the pole, that is 100% daddy's fault. Don't blame that on their moms. Don't come at their moms for that. It's on us. Okay? Somewhere between birth and 18 years of age, we blew it. Somehow, dads. Okay? So we don't get to blame their mothers for that. all I want to say, because it's really disturbing to me to see so many of these young ladies on the pole that did come from good families, on the pole because they have low self-esteem, on the pole because they have father issues. That's how they end up on the pole, dads, because there's a breakdown between their fathers and them, right? So dads, you know, I'm very hard on fathers, but I'm fair, because I know what it takes to raise successful daughters. I know what it takes. And we have to do so much. You know, there's times we're gonna feel exhausted. I get it, been there. There's times we're gonna wanna give up. There's times we're gonna wanna quit. There's times we're gonna wanna run away. I get it all, Dad. I get it all. I know. Okay, I'm not telling you fathers something I haven't been through or experienced, because all of my daughters are adult women. I'm far from perfect as a father. Had to learn a lot of different strategies as I was rearing my daughters. But the one thing I could promise you, I was consistent in their life. I met their needs. Whatever their needs were, I met their needs. I talked to my daughters all the time when they were little girls. I made sure that they were safe. I made sure that they were protected. It's our responsibility, dads. Okay? We have to go so beyond when it comes to our baby girls. I am telling you. Because the predators are waiting for them. You know, in these gentlemen's clubs, you know, there's so many men that are there. They have kids. They're married. You know, they're watching these strippers and these exotic dancers. They're paying money. And these are married men. It is what it is, dads. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, it falls on us. Okay? So I'm not here to preach. I'm here to give you a real perspective and a real understanding. If our daughters end up on the pole, it is our fault. Something somewhere along the line between the ages of birth to 18 years of age, we failed them somewhere. And a lot of times, a lot of fathers, they don't want to reflect on how they reared their daughters. They just don't, because it's easier to put it on them and to blame them. But I guarantee you, have those discussions with your daughters if they end up on the pole. And see what your daughters tell you. I guarantee you, you won't be willing to accept what they tell you. There's no perfect way of raising our daughters other than being in their life from birth to 18. Being an essential part of their decision making. Guiding them always. Don't allow another man to come into their life and have a say. You know, and that happens a lot to our daughters when fathers end up getting divorced. And fathers may, you know, leave the state in which their daughters are living in. That's on you. Not all marriages are going to work out. They're just not. But it is your responsibility as a father, if you have a daughter, if you have kids, to ensure that you stay in their life. You know, if you're divorced, don't allow your ex-wife to leave the state to take your children somewhere. They can't do that. You know, I come across fathers all the time say, well, you know, my ex-wife has my kids, and I ask them, well, why did you allow your ex-wife to leave with your children? They can't do that if you were married. They can't do that if you were single. You have a say in that. No woman can just up and leave you and your children, leave your children. They're not allowed to do that. All states have laws. Okay, so I'm not falling for that. If you're not in your child's life and you're living in a different state, fathers, you've allowed that. That's 100% on you. Okay? You can't fall back and say, well, I'm living in California, my ex-wife is living in Arizona, and I'm seeing my kids on the weekends or whatever it is you're doing. And then if your daughter ends up jacked up and messed up and she ends up on the pole, you're going to blame the mom. No, fathers, no. That's not how life works. That's not how it is. If we're going to be the man in their life, let's be the man in their life. If we're going to keep them protected and safe, let's keep them protected and safe. I just don't understand why that is so hard for men to own up to and to accept. I'm talking to men here. I'm talking about us. I'm talking about there's a difference between a dad and a father. Anybody can be a dad, but not everyone can be a father. Big difference. Anybody can be a dad. Anybody can impregnate, any man can impregnate any woman. Yeah, you could be a dad. But being a father requires a hell of a lot more than just impregnating a woman and having a child. Particularly with our baby girls. I'm telling you, being a former probation officer, working in the criminal justice system for 20 years, I saw a lot of jacked up stuff when it came to children. I saw a lot of jacked up stuff and dealt with a lot of jacked up stuff when it came to female girls, baby girls. What happened to some of these little girls when I was a probation officer? No. Unacceptable. Right? I mean, crazy. And a lot of times, no father to be found. And then if a lot of these dads do decide to come back, a lot of times it's just too late because you've been gone for so long. You can't be coming in and out of your child's life, particularly with baby girls, man. That's just not how it's going to ride. They're not going to allow that. They're going to make you pay. I promise you. Play with your daughters' lives if you want to, fathers. I'm telling you right now, they're going to make you pay. They may make you pay in the form of them getting pregnant. They may make you pay in the form of them selling their bodies, but they're going to make you pay. I promise you they're going to make you pay. So like I said, fathers, I saw too much jacked up stuff. In family court, I spent years in family court. I spent years in juvenile court because I was a probation officer, man. State juvenile probation officer, state of Colorado. It was jacked up. What was happening to these baby girls? It was jacked up. And so many of their fathers weren't even around, weren't a part of their lives. And that's what it is, gentlemen. We don't get to opt out of this, okay? So for some of you fathers that are not going to like this live stream, I don't care. You can be pissed off all you want, fathers, for not liking this live stream and for me addressing our daughters on the pole. I really don't care, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to have to own it, okay? You don't get to blame their mother on this one. If your daughters end up on the pole, 100% on us, 100% on men, not their mother. You don't get to blame their moms for that. That's on us. We failed. If our daughters end up on the pole, we failed, right? Like I said, you don't have to like what I'm saying. I don't care. Facts are facts, though. Our daughters are valuable. They need us, dads. They need us, fathers. So either we are going to do right by our daughters, or they are not going to do right by us. That's just how it's going to work, dads. So, don't be pissed off at me. Don't get mad at the messenger. I'm telling you what I know. I'm telling you what I've seen. So, if we are not a part of our daughters' lives, from birth to 18 years of age, and they end up on the pole, 100% on their father, not their mother. We don't get to pass the buck on this one, dads. Fathers, we don't get to. Because our daughters' lives are at stake if we fail them. All right, fathers, this is another live stream. I'm done. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you as fathers, okay? I care about all dads, regardless of your culture, regardless of your ethnic background. I work with all fathers because I believe in fathers. So let's press forward as fathers. Let's do what we do. Let's keep our daughters safe. Let's keep them protected, and let's keep them off the pole. Okay, fathers, I'm out until next week's live stream. Have a blessed week, and I'll holla at you. Peace.